Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television. I'm your host, Christian. Join me, as always, are my co-hosts, Joseph.
Yellow.
Ian.
What up?
And Jehu.
Christian, I feel like you stumbled a little bit at the beginning, but you decided to come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, I tried to do it all in one breath, and it just wasn't going to happen, and I started stumbling, so you swerve into the skid, you know?
For sure, absolutely.
Well, today we're talking, as much to, our listeners' surprise, you would have thought we talked about Dune enough last week, but in fact, we're going to talk about Dune even more this week because we're discussing Denis Villeneuve's extremely faithful adaptation of Frank Herbert's classic, or at least the first half of it. The story of Paul Atreides, whose family is called from their home on the planet Caladan to the strange world of Arrakis and all the power and mystery it holds with the spice melange.
The desert power.
Yeah, desert power. I want to talk more about that phrase specifically when we get into spoilers.
Sure.
This movie has everybody in it. Timothy Chalamet, Oscar Isaacs, Rebecca Ferguson, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista. Literally, just throw a dart on the wall, and there's a chance that person's in this movie. Josh Brolin,
Javier Bardem,
Jason Momoa, Javier Bardem, Zendaya.
I was about to say you skipped Ian's favorite person.
Yeah.
Before we get deeper, I do want to add, just for both us and for the listening audience, because I think it's going to affect our general opinions. I kind of want to, one by one, how much Dune do we know about? The only Dune that I know about is rumblings on Twitter, and I just last week watched the 80s David Lynch version, and that's all of my exposure.
I did some background reading in anticipation of the movie after our podcast last week, where Joseph seemed to not know anything about the 1984 Dune or whatever the original. So I did some background reading about the story and the Cliff Notes, basically. So I had read the Cliff Notes version of the story before I saw the movie.
I have read the book, the first book. I have seen the Lynch film for the first time last week, and I know generally the plot of at least the next two books.
I'm pretty much in the same boat as Christian. I would add that I also owned a Dune coloring book at one point.
I can't imagine there are a lot of colors that are used.
It wasn't. I mentioned this before on the podcast, but yeah, I found it at Toys R Us at least 10 years after there was any explanation for it to be at Toys R Us. So I was like, I just have to fucking have this. But I can't find it now. I was trying to find it for, this holiday, this event, but I couldn't find it.
I know that there are 6 books, I think, written by Frank Herbert in this universe. And then, like Tolkien's kids, just his offspring keep churning them out. But, I'm intrigued by this world, but I'm not intrigued enough to keep reading as of yet. But probably more so now after this film.
Yeah. I think I might try to read at least the next 2.
Yeah, those are the only 2 if I do it. Those would be the only... Dune do it. Those would be the only 2 I do.
So kind of on the note of continuity here, comparing it to the David Lynch one, as far as I can tell, the David Lynch one pops through maybe 3 books in one go, whereas this one it seems to stop at about the halfway point of the David Lynch film.
I mean, Hurt could probably describe this better than I can. That Lynch one is Dune, but Dune itself is kind of broken into 3. I don't want to say individual stories, but 3 distinct sections of Paul's life. And that one is only really the first and the last.
Right. Yeah, they skip over the middle one pretty hard.
This one does there's still a lot in that middle that we'll get in part 2, but I think you start, it goes deeper, I think, into it. It's not just the plane crashes and they find Fremen and they're widely accepted.
Right. Yeah, this one does vary some, and I feel like the places it varies are actually usually pretty good, except for one thing I will talk about in spoilers. And there's some spots I wish it would have actually I felt like it was going to vary more, and I wish they would have leaned harder on that. And also, we will talk more about that in spoilers.
Yeah, so I think that's probably a good transition. How do we feel about this film just in general?
I can say I watched it, in IMAX with a couple of you guys, and I feel like it fits that scale of movie watching experience well. But I feel like the longer I've gotten away from it, the less I've been like amazed by it. I think it's a good movie. I think it's better than Transformers, but I'm also kind of not entirely sure what all the fuss is about.
I'd kind of agree with Joseph. I really, really liked it watching it. I think I was taken with the spectacle of it. It looks really, really good in IMAX. It's definitely a movie. I think the bigger the screen, the better. It looks real expensive. I think the performances are good. But I think the further I got away from it, when I walked out, of course, I like things a lot, that are new. But I think I was taken with just like how cool it was to see this thing on screen that felt like an event film. I think I was craving an event film. We haven't had one of those in a while. I think it's definitely better than Transformers, but I would say as I sat with a little bit, it's like a really good sci-fi movie. Does it blow, is it like a trendsetter, like, one of those 1% movies? I wouldn't say that, but I did really enjoy it.
It definitely is like a movie. It needs to be seen in a movie theater. Anyone I've heard about talking about they thought it was kind of boring is usually someone who watched it on HBO Max at home. I really like this a lot. I thought it was super well done, definitely visually incredible. If I have one complaint, this was my first time ever sitting in the IMAX in Bayou 15 as a customer. And man, they need to upgrade those fucking seats. $15 a pop, my ass shouldn't start hurting at the 2-hour mark. So the literal point, looking back on it, I started to become critical of this movie was around the same time my ass started hurting.
I like this movie a whole lot. I think I said this to the guys walking out, like there are some parts that are just extremely faithful, and I think it changed my perception a bit. I think this movie is closer to a visual audio book than it is a good movie experience, which is like Lord of the Rings cuts out, I don't know, 35% of the novels to make a cohesive film. There's not like long sections of, there is bits of Treebeard talking about the forest, but that's not 30 pages long like it is in Two Towers. But I think Denny really relied on the exposition heavy nature of the first third of this book. I mean, I think when you read Dune, that's kind of why it's so hard and so dense to get through is it just throws an entire new universe and a new set of rules and a new way to communicate and new phrases. It throws it right at you and it gives you no explanation and you have to figure it out. And I think this movie kind of does that as well, but in a more visual medium. And I'm not sure that makes for a great movie experience, but I think it's a really great, like, singular film experience. I don't know if we've ever had anything quite like that. Like, I do feel like this is a visual book, but I think the performances are great. I think the direction is great. I think it's better than Transformers, but walking out of it, I probably would compare it more to like Gravity than I would anything else because it's such a singular, or to me at least, like really trying to dissect it and compare it to the novel was a very kind of singular experience.
I mean, I can kind of see where you're going there, but I mean, I think that you said that it's pretty exposition heavy. I feel like it kind of could have used more exposition. I mean, I know that the inner voice thing was real awkward in the Lynch version. We talked about that a lot last week, but I think you missed some of the details of the story in this without it.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I think cutting that was not a necessarily great decision. And what I mean more so, and I didn't say this well, is I think it tries to do visual exposition and not audible. And I don't think it always lands. So, example, the bull. There's a presence of the bull in the beginning, and you get a line from Leto about his father being killed by a bull or whatever. But there's a great almost kind of confrontation between Jessica and Leto about the bullhead in the book that offers more explanation why it's important, what the metaphor is. And the movie doesn't give it to you that way. It just keeps flashing it and showing it to you. Like, hey, this is important. You need to remember this. But it doesn't offer really why it's important.
Okay. Now I understand what you're saying. I totally agree. There are times in this movie where he really adheres to the filmmaking rule of show, don't tell. And he needed to fucking tell, too. Specifically, the mentats. He just kind of shows how the mentat works and doesn't explain it. And I feel like if I didn't already know that, I would be like, what's with that dude's fucking eyes?
Yes. I think you still have to know something about Dune to really appreciate this movie.
I saw it with like 4 people who had never read Dune before, and they still had a lot of, now what was the he with the who and the what and the where after it was over? So yeah, it doesn't necessarily explain everything. That being said, I still loved this movie.
Yeah, I would say, like I said, if I hadn't read up on like some of the cliff notes, because I'd never seen the original Dune movie and never read anything, like when they start talking about like the Bene, how do you say it, Gesserit, or the witch people, and like the humans that are like computers, and like just like there's a lot of different concepts going at once. You know, like I was asking Christian during the movie, like, is there 2 prophecies going on at once? Because there's the witch prophecy and then the Freeman prophecy. And like, even I read on Bunch, I probably spent like 15 minutes reading before we saw this movie. And I would say like 80% of it, you know what I mean? But there was still stuff going on there that I think I probably didn't catch. And then I read some more after the movie and it starts to make more sense. But I think people who maybe go in there cold are going to miss some of what he's trying to do. With what you guys say, I don't know if he explains everything like verbally. It's kind of just gives it to you. And, you know, you got to digest it the best you can. Like he doesn't spoon feed it to you, I guess would be the way I would say it.
I think I don't know when we want to officially call it into spoilers. I'm not going to talk about anything particularly spoilery, but I just feel like we're going to forget. So let's just go ahead and call it. I feel like my problem might actually be more with the source material than the actual interpretation. And maybe it's the interpretation failing to that's the thing. I don't know because I haven't read the book. But, you know, one of the things that I think has struck me the further we get away from it is how, like, it is this whole big universe and how small it makes this universe feel. We spend this whole time on this one planet and mostly focus on this war between these 2 families. Which brings me to another thing that I was curious about as I was, like, thinking about the plot of this movie. I know this is, like, a seminal sci-fi work and whatever. And there's a lot of context that I'm sure that I don't understand. But the plot of this movie, as far as I understand it, is there's 2 warring white superpowers fighting over a desert planet that isn't theirs for a valuable resource there that is inhabited by natives who have suspiciously Arabic names. And I guess my question after watching this movie is this good sci-fi?
I mean, I think it was probably well-meaning for its time.
I just, I don't know. Like, there was a lot of it that felt like, you know, and again, maybe that's just because it's the intro movie. Like, it felt more closed in than I think I would have liked this universe to feel with all of the new concepts we've been introduced to. It's all just very, I don't know, you know, it's mostly just this sand place and these two families, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying there, and there is definitely, I mean, you know, if someone wants to knock this as a white savior story, they probably could knock it very easily as that. You know, it's just one of those things that, you know, I don't know if it does us any good judging that by today's standard, except we made this movie today, so maybe there is a reason to.
Yeah, I mean, I would also add, I think, and Denny has said this, if he gets to make 3, he would do, you know, Messiah. And I think it's important to understand the point of Dune is not that Paul is a hero. He very much becomes a villain in this story. Like, all people are corrupt and all people are bad. And I'm not sure that's a good story to tell. But I also don't think at least the concept of Dune, I don't believe is necessarily a white savior story, but I think the way it may be presented in this film definitely gives that appearance.
I forgot to mention in my explanation of why this is bad sci-fi, one side of the white superpowers names is Vladimir, and the other ones are like Paul and Jessica. So, take that as you will.
See, I never mind that. I never mind names that let me know which guys are the good guys. I look forward to that, actually.
That does kind of lead me to something that's super spoilery, that is not in this movie, but I feel like we should have covered it at the point of where the film ends, is that Jessica is a Harkonnen. Her dad is the Baron.
Yeah.
And especially if in the movie version, Hawat survives, I think you, the audience member, are supposed to mistrust her. And they don't really give you all the information unless the movie's just going to tell it differently. I don't think you're supposed to have complete faith in Jessica. And the movie left out some pretty key details as to why.
Is that a secret in the book, or is it like, is that something that's widely known by people in the book, or is it something that like comes out later?
It's a secret to the people in the book, but not necessarily a secret to you.
That's what I mean. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul knows it and she knows it.
Right.
But I say Hawat survived. Hawat thinks Jessica is the one that is the inside man, and not because of that, but because that she's a Harkonnen, and like there's just multiple things that go on to make cast doubt on everyone, even though you know who the real betrayer is.
Yeah. I'm hoping that maybe in the next movie there'll be some flashbacks to this time, because definitely that was one of the things I was talking about, that, Hawat's, role in the rest of the story is really based on the idea that he thinks that Jessica is the traitor, and how he moves. And it's from clues he has in this part of the story. So where we didn't see that, we're going to have to get to that somehow. Now that we're in spoilers, I should say one of the things I don't think this did well is the doctor. Oh, why can't I think of the doctor's name now? Christian, what's the doctor? Huey. I really like both in the book and in this, the way they're laid out. Leto is doomed. In this, I like that they made the choice it's going to be a surprise. But in the books, from the beginning, Leto is doomed, and that Huey is going to betray him. Mm-hmm. But in that, Huey becomes a character that's weirdly sympathetic, learning why he's going to betray him, learning how much misgivings and anguish he has about betraying him. And in this, Huey doesn't really get to become a character. And my favorite scene in the whole book is the tooth scene, when he gives when he gives Leto the tooth. And that just didn't land as well where you didn't know Huey as well in this.
Yeah, they definitely spend no time in establishing who that guy is. And definitely in the first third of the Dune, he's one of the most interesting characters.
Right.
I suppose that one would have been tough to do without the inner voice, huh?
Totally. Like, that's one of the things where the inner voice was definitely in this. So here's a question I have for everybody. So this was my first movie experience with him at all, but this podcast, particularly 1/4 of him, has been not very pro Timothée Chalamet. Do we like him now?
I would say, he's a good actor, but he's so damn slender. That's all I kept saying. And he has such gangly fingers. You know what I mean? Right. I don't know. I would say yes. I'm a little higher on him. He's pretty good in that movie. He's just, when he kills that person at the end in the ritual duel, I don't know. He has this look he gives with his eyes, and he just, I don't know. He knows how to emote without speaking so much. He definitely is very talented. I don't know if I necessarily like him, but I definitely think I respect him more after this. But the worst line in that whole fucking movie is when Jason Momoa is joking with him and walks up to him and says, "Man, you put on some muscle." No, bitch, you didn't. You are the slimmest man in the entire world. And I couldn't take that.
Well, hang on a second.
What are you talking about?
In the movie, Paul falls up and says, "Really?" And Jason Momoa says, "No."
Yeah, no, I don't know. It was fine. I think he's good at it.
I still don't like his face or his just general being. I think he's a good actor. He is a pretty hard sell as this warrior.
Right.
But fucking what's his name? Kyle McLaughlin. Yeah. Was also a tough sell. So
Yeah, I think Timothy is much better than Kyle in this role. Personally,
See, I don't know. I feel like with Kyle MacLachlan, because Paul's supposed to be a child in the beginning of the story and a man at the end, and I never for a moment bought Kyle MacLachlan as a child. But I don't know if I'll ever accept Timothy Chalamet as a man.
Yeah,
maybe we should just sub in Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah,
I tell you this, going back to where they don't let you know in the beginning that Leto is doomed. I kind of thought that meant that they were going to spread out Leto's involvement a little more, and maybe he'd make it all the way to the end of this story. And when he didn't, that was kind of a bummer. But I bring that up in regards to Timothy Chalamet because I really feel instead of doing all the fucking flash forwards we saw of Zendaya, we could have done a little more of the characters in the first half. And as for those fucking flash forwards, they were mostly just those two making kissy faces at each other. And I honestly don't know which one of them is more kissable. They're both very kissable.
I agree with you. Timothy Chalamet is always going to look 17. That guy could be 45 and he'll just look 17, about to be 18 to me.
Right.
There's just something about his look. So I agree with you. I don't buy that he transitioned from like a boy to a man in this movie, but he's pretty good at the boy part. He just, it's going to be a tough sell to like make him the aged up hero if that's where it's going in the second one, to like be the leader, to lead the Freemen against the Harkonnens. I don't know if I'm going to buy that as much. I think he was good at this part of the role though, but yeah, I don't know if he can make that transition in my mind.
I don't think if you do 3 or if you do book 2 and do 3, I don't think you can cast Timothy Chalamet to be Paul in that. Personally,
is there a time jump in the book? Like,
yeah, I mean, he has like children and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be hard to do the ending of Dune, I think, with him, but you already showed us clips of the final battle, or at least him beating the Harkonnens. I mean, like a fight with him in that role. So I feel like you have to stick with him through that, but he's supposed to be married with kids. I feel like
he becomes emperor eventually, right?
I will say, spice elongates your life and all that stuff. So theoretically, time jump doesn't make a difference. So why can't he look the same? But
I don't know if I buy he's going to be able to ride a sandworm. I don't know. Like, I just don't know if I buy he'll be able to do that. But we'll see.
Jason Momoa, sure, but Timothy Chalamet, I don't know.
100%.
Definitely, though, riding the sandworm will look better than it did in the Lynch version. This question is for Christian, and it's kind of dorky. Do you think they even do Fayed Ralpha, or they just make Dave Bautista basically both characters?
So I wondered this as well. Ian and I walked out of it, and I was like, man, there's a Harkonnen character that they're missing, and I just could not place it. And then, like, I don't know, the next day I texted him, I was like, it's friggin' Fade. Like, why is that guy not in here? Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like, I feel like for ease, you make it the Dave Bautista character, but I would not like that if that's the way, because I did not like Dave Bautista in this movie, and I don't think he can pull off what Fade's supposed to be.
Right.
Isn't he supposed to have the voice? He's kind of supposed to be like a mirror. Like what I read is he's like a mirror image of kind of Paul Atreides, but for House Harkonnen. He's kind of similar, and he's been trained in like the Bene Gesserit ways. And I didn't get that from Dave Bautista. Is that not how it's supposed to be? Like, he didn't seem like that part to me.
Fade is supposed to be the father of the Kwisatz Haderach. He's the chosen one to bring about, the Messiah, essentially. Like, Jessica and Leto were supposed to have a daughter, and that daughter was either supposed to marry Fade or their kids were supposed to meet. I might be misplacing that.
I think
to unite everything.
Yes, and then their child was supposed to be the Kwisatz Haderach, and then she messed it all up. So he definitely was like, they talk about how the Bene Gesserit have caused, the mixing of lines to make perfect brains. He's like the peak Harkonnen before his child is supposed to be the Kwisatz Haderach.
Y'all, I've been sitting here this whole time thinking about who would be the Dark Mirror to Timothy Chalamet. That would fill out the space of of Sting in the Lynch version, and 100% it's Jared Leto.
God damn you for saying that before I did. That was my fucking closer, Joseph.
I'm so sorry.
God damn you.
I won't watch
that is correct.
movie.
It's Jared Leto. Jared Leto is the correct fan, Ralph.
Is that wrong? Hurt? Did I say any of that incorrectly?
No, I think you said it absolutely correctly.
Okay. Yeah, I was surprised he was not in it, and if they make Dave Bautista it, I will be very pissed off.
Yeah. I don't feel like it's a corner they cut, but it seems like something they would, because Dave Bautista didn't really have a big reason to be in this. But I mean, that character doesn't do a lot. So it's weird that they even cast a star in it,
No, that whole role exists to be humiliated, really.
Right.
Maybe Dave Bautista just likes Dune.
I think he just likes money.
Yeah.
I think he does too. I think a lot of these guys might like money. One more thing. So I mentioned earlier that they didn't clarify who the Mentats were. When Paul has the freak out in the tent, about, you've made me a freak, that's where he realizes he's both a Bene Gesserit and a Mentat, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a bummer that they didn't include that. Like, it didn't bum me out when they didn't include stuff like that in the Lynch version, because, they just had to rush through it as best they can to fit it in one movie. But where we're doing multiple movies, I was annoyed when corners were cut.
I can see that. I definitely feel like the end of this movie should have been the Harkonnen attack. Like, I don't feel like we should have got anything in the desert.
I agree. I think totally that should have been the end of the movie, definitely.
And you do it in 3 movies. Dragging on felt very like Return of the King-y. Like, we just keep getting ending after ending after ending.
Right. It was definitely that. I kept waiting for which one of these things is going to be the ending. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the natural point to cut this movie would have been Jared Leto blowing the tooth into the Baron. I thought that would have been a good cutoff point after.
Oh, Jared Leto.
Oscar Isaac. Yeah, blow the tooth.
But his name is Leto. Like, that's great.
That is funny because I didn't even think of that aspect, but Jared Leto kind of has a fucking Dune name.
Man, that's hilarious. I don't have much else on this other than I really liked it. It sounds like I don't, but I think the hardest part for me, and I said this at the beginning, I said it when I saw it, and I say it now, like, some parts are really, really faithful and some parts aren't. And it's, I don't know that I have struggled as much to separate a movie from a book as I did this. And I'm not even like a super fan of the book. It's just that it seems like Denis Villeneuve is, because he went to such lengths at some parts and then other parts he didn't. And I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird thing that exists now.
The only other thing I got is I think that's the most handsome Oscar Isaac's ever been.
I mean, look, he's a pretty handsome guy, but for sure, yeah. I agree.
That beard
and also
is
the
sexual.
Pudgiest. It's the pudgiest Jason Momoa has ever been. I think he was like, they was like, do I need abs for this? And they were like,
the powerlifter bod. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's better than Transformers. Definitely. I had a good time with it. I kept talking about how cool those fucking dragonfly ships were. Yeah. Man, those things look fucking expensive.
I mean, you keep saying it looks expensive. I had to remind myself during the trailer for this movie and during the actual movie several times, this wasn't filmed on another planet. Like, it looks amazing. Yeah. And I will say, like, that's my closer. If you listen to this and I don't know why you would have made it this far if you haven't gone to see the movie, but if you're thinking about seeing it, don't watch it on HBO. Go see it in a movie theater. Go see it in IMAX. It's $15, but it's worth it.
I hate to do this, guys, but I just thought of 2 things I have to ask Kurt about.
Okay, go for it.
How do we feel about Stilgar in this movie?
Man, I love that guy, but I kind of like Lynch's Stilgar better.
I didn't feel like this was a very good version of Stilgar. Like, he's angrier than I read him to be.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, he seemed angrier. He seemed less alien. He just kind of seems like a dude who's pissed.
Yeah, that first interaction, like the spitting, like who's in the room, that's one of those scenes that I'm talking about is extremely faithful.
Right.
But every line he says, even if it's a line from the book, I interpret it completely differently reading it than the way Javier Bardem acts it.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked him in this movie.
Yeah.
But he didn't feel like what I thought that character was.
Exactly. 100%. The other thing is, we didn't talk. Number one, they never say melange in this movie, which is a weird thing to leave out. You write this weird scene where you literally have Baron Harkonnen say Dune, like the slang name for this planet,
right?
But you never call spice by its real name. The other thing that was strange to me is, and look, this is totally exposition-y. The movie's already north of 2.5 hours. You probably don't need to include it, but it's interesting to me is folding. We don't talk about folding space at all, and it's like true. A really cool way they move through space and time. Like it's not intergalactic travel. It's like instantaneous travel, and I don't know. I just feel like we could have done a better job of why people care about this shit. It doesn't just get you high. It is everything in this universe.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. They did not. We got that scene of a weird like space tube spewing out little things, but we didn't get any talk about. And again, I think they just could have cut out a few kissy face flash forwards and done that.
Yeah.
Told us how that worked.
That's it. I'm done talking about Dune for now.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about it is Denis Villeneuve, I mean, nobody on Earth has that sort of bleak side of 80s sci-fi down more than him. Ridley Scott needs to never step to the plate again. This guy's got it. And also, to Joseph's point, if if you're thinking about watching this at home, this is a Hans Zimmer score. Why would you ever watch a Hans Zimmer score at home?
I mean, look, Hans Zimmer's been coasting for a while. I'm not going to give Hans Zimmer a lot of credit on this one.
No, dude, I was getting that. I don't think it was great. I'm just saying it just exists to test IMAX speakers.
I mean, that's probably true.
If you put this score next to Interstellar, I'm positive I couldn't tell them apart.
Yeah.
But they are at this point, they're part of the IMAX experience. You expect that noise when you go see fucking IMAX.
You're not wrong. I will say, Christian and Ian and I all went to see it on Thursday night when it came out, and one of our regular listeners, Rick, also was in that theater, just by coincidence. And he told me afterwards that, we're all in IMAX. We all paid $15 to be there, but the guy behind him, every single time that Paul would show up on screen, the guy behind him would go, Muad'Dib! Which is funny now, but would be really annoying to me if I paid $15 for my seat.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel for Rick, because that is my fucking superpower. When I am in a movie with the public, my superpower is to sit right in front of that fucking guy.
All right, I think that's Dune. Is that Dune?
It's Dune.
All right, we got less
Dune enough.
Dune enough. All right, go on Twitter if you want more Dune. What have we been watching this past week, guys?
I didn't watch really anything, so I'm going to take this chance to talk about the one thing I did talk about, which is the Atlanta Braves.
What an exciting time to be alive, isn't it, Christian?
I know, man. I have watched so much baseball in the last 2 weeks. An unbelievable amount. However, being an Atlanta sports fan, it's hard, guys. It's real hard. I love my hometown. I love that city. And I think more than anything, it deserves something to be excited about. And listen, it really doesn't even matter if they win the World Series, though I want them to, because I hate the freaking Astros so much. But the fact that they made it, that they won, the Atlanta Braves have not won a World Series game. One, they haven't been since 1999. That was 22 years ago. And when they went, they got swept by the New York Yankees. They have not won a World Series game since 1996. That was 25 years ago. I was 7 years old the last time I watched my hometown baseball team win a World Series game on national television. I was thankful I got to do that the other night. But yeah, it's a really exciting time. I get that we don't talk about professional sports a ton on this podcast, but it means a whole lot to me. And I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts. The Astros are a good team, so it might not last much longer. But for the next at least 3 games, at the very least, I think more, but I'll take 3 more. I will gladly watch my Braves play, and just fully expect next week I probably won't have watched anything else because this will be what I consumed.
Oh, man. Well, enjoying it while you last leads very well into me. I am going to be talking this week about something I didn't watch. Dark times to sit in for poor old Jehu. YouTube has swept in and gutted Santa Barbara.
Oh, no.
No.
They're like all fucking gone, man. It's destroyed me. I spent 3 fucking weeks talking about Santa Barbara, so I won't go on too long about this. The only thing I'll say is I spent a long time trying to dog on that show, making fun of it, just because I thought that would be funny. And I really shouldn't have, because honest to God, I unabashedly loved it. And, this last couple of years has been shitty for everyone, but it has been, shittier for me, I feel like. I'm sure there's lots of people who think that, but I've had some health concerns. I've had some mental health concerns. And for whatever reason, this stupid fucking show has really got me through it. So I am so fucking bummed about this. And it's just one of those things that, I talked about this once before on the show, that I don't understand who's policing this and making this go away. Like the ABC soaps are owned by Disney, probably. So I can see who's policing those. But a lot of these, I just don't know who it is. So, like most of the soap operas that are out there were owned by Procter & Gamble. And they don't even have an entertainment division anymore. So I don't know why they would be pulling this shit. So I had built it up in my head that it's like, well, it must be the pop music. Because YouTube has an algorithm that searches videos for pop music. And if it violates the copyright, it'll pull it down. And the Procter & Gamble soaps, definitely, they were like music videos. They just had pop music in them all the time. Santa Barbara wasn't like that. And that was part of the reason why I thought there was 2,000 episodes on here that nobody was pulling off. But now, like, most of it's gone. And it would be like, I know this is just seems like such a stupid thing to be bummed about. But it would be like if your favorite show was Mad Men and you would watch the first 2 seasons of Mad Men, and then it just disappeared forever. And all the DVDs on Earth spontaneously combusted. And you are never going to see the rest of Mad Men. It's a bummer. I'm happy I had my time with Santa Barbara. I'm bummed I may not get to see any more. There is a little light at the end of the tunnel that Pluto just launched a soap opera channel. And it was almost at the exact time this happened. So I'm hoping that's a correlation, but right now they're only showing current episodes of The Young and the Restless and The Bold and Beautiful, which is fucking lame. So, and also one thing, the thing I'm worried most from this. So the last time I talked about this specific issue, I'd been talking a lot about The Guiding Light and As the World Turns, and the YouTube channel that had the most of that disappeared. 2 weeks after I talked about Santa Barbara, now Santa Barbara's gone. I'm worried we might have influence.
Oh, no. I can tell you by our downloads, that is not true.
Well, that's good because we can't handle that responsibility.
I will say, my heart breaks for you, Hurt. I immediately pulled out my phone to see if I can find it where I could even buy a DVD box set for you. And It's not available to rent or purchase or stream anywhere.
That's the weirdest thing about soaps, man. In this day and age where large clumps of, just content are valuable to somebody, maybe not to Netflix or Hulu, but you're telling me that, Tubi doesn't want a soap, fucking Crackle doesn't want a soap. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody should want this. So there's some reason it's not out there, but also the internet will not provide me the reasons for why that is.
Yeah, that is strange. Like, as a person who's into anime, I can confirm new people discover One Piece every day, and they do it. They do all 1,000 episodes. Right. So for sure, someone would do it for a soap opera.
So anyways, that's all I got this week. If anybody has any thoughts and prayers for old Jehu, most of the things people use their thoughts and prayers on, it doesn't always seem to work, but maybe it'll work for Jehu. This is small stakes. Just one guy getting to watch some soaps.
Attainable goals.
I didn't watch much. I've been working a lot, but I was able to get a PlayStation 5 last week, right. which was super cool. So
I see you on there playing Guardians.
Yeah, so my next couple weeks are going to be what have I been playing? So I got the new Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was able to tap in last night. And today I was off, so I played all day today. I'm like probably 30%, about a third of the way through, and it's really good. This is from the same studio that made Marvel's Avengers, which is just a horrible game. So I had really low expectations, but it's really fucking fun. It picks up like you're about a year into being like the Guardians of the Galaxy. You control Peter Quill. I think the story's great. It leans more into the comics. Like so far, I've already ran into like Richard Rider, Nova. I've ran into like this super cool character, Lady Hellbender, who like collects monsters in the MCU and like runs this like habitat for them. I think the story's really good. The graphics are awesome. Like there's certain stages where you're flying the Milano through like all these crazy, I don't want to spoil it, like different atmospheres and like crazy things in space, and you control Star-Lord in the combat, and you have like the special abilities of these other, the other four Guardians, which it's really cool. A lot cooler than I thought it would be. And also with the puzzles, like, you have Rocket who can hack certain stuff, and Groot can like make routes to make bridges, and Drax can like move stuff around. So they all have their own thing to make certain puzzles fun. I'm excited to see where it goes. I haven't had a game in a while where like I don't want to put it down. So it's actually pretty fun. Yeah, the graphics are cool. Like the PlayStation 5, I think the coolest thing I've noticed is like there's no more loading. So like if you die or you're going to the next stage, it's like fucking instant, which is cool for me because I suck at video games and I die a lot. So it's a lot less sitting at a loading screen waiting. It's just instantly right back into it. So yeah, the dialogue is the other cool thing is like you have a lot of like quips between your teammates, and like it gives you a lot of dialogue options, and like what you pick affects the story. Like I think it's a good game I would play through again, because like there's one of the stages you have to pick to sell either Rocket or Groot to this Lady Hellbender who wants a monster, and I think depending on who you pick, it completely changes how you do that next stage. So I think it makes you kind of care about the the story and what you're doing, and the music. Like they've licensed so many 80s songs. It's crazy. I can't believe how much they must have spent to get all these songs. Or 80s music's just cheap. But I don't think
it's cheap. Yeah.
Like they have like a crazy amount of songs like that. Like, yeah, it seems like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, like they've already licensed all the music for it. So yeah, so I think so far better than Transformers. And I think after I finish this, I got Miles Morales Spider-Man I'm going to tap into. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing on my free time. But that's it.
This is not fully related to what you're talking about, but you just reminded me of it. Talking about being bad at video games, one of the advantages of, kind of cutting my teeth in the pre-online gaming days, or at least the online gaming heydays, is that you don't really have to be good. You just have to be better than your friends,
yeah.
Or at least better than some of your friends, and you feel like a big man.
Yep.
But nowadays when you're playing against the world, you realize, oh no, I'm really, really, really bad.
Yep.
I think we all need a smaller sample size, is what I'm saying.
You felt like the big fish in a small pond, and
Correct.
Now you are just a little fucking fish, and the 11-year-olds are talking shit to you.
100%. I don't have too much. The wife and I finished Ted Lasso this week. We'll save it though. We'll wait till get to it eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but obviously it's better than Transformers. If you haven't watched it, watch it. Though I do need to actually, maybe I'll watch Mythic Quest before I cancel my Apple Plus subscription. How many seasons are there?
It's 2.
We'll see.
It's quick watch too.
All right. And then the only other thing is I also finished something I talked about earlier on the podcast, which is Only Murders in the Building, the Hulu show with Steve Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. It's good. It's both kind of a satirical, or not a satirical, that's too strong of a word. It's poking fun at true crime murder podcasts, and it's kind of about solving murder, but it's also kind of just about like making friends. It really though, but
totally. No, I agree.
Yeah. But in the end, it actually turns out to be a pretty good murder mystery. They do a really good job. Who's really good in this? I mean, again, I mentioned the fact that this has really warmed me to Martin Short, but Nathan Lane is really good in this.
Nathan Lane is like, I don't know if this is seems like backhanded, but he's like intimidating in this.
Yes,
like
I know.
When you have to buy that he's a danger at one point, you buy it.
You do. I know that. Again, maybe it is backhanded, but I've just never seen him do that before, and it was I totally bought it. Anyway,
I've got 2 episodes left, but I also love this show.
You'll enjoy the ending, I think.
Cool.
So yeah, if you haven't watched that, honestly, it's not quite Ted Lasso energy, but it's a similar vein. It's still pretty like positive. We're all just sad, lonely people. Let's all be nicer to each other.
I totally would be gushing about this show more if it wasn't for Ted Lasso. It's Ted Lasso's fault.
Fair enough. But yeah, that's it. Do we have something for next week? I can't remember. Sounds like
we haven't done What If. I don't know.
All right, so next week is going to be What If.
Yeah.
Finally. I'm sorry, Ian. I know you've been waiting for this one.
Yeah. At this point, it's so old. I'm like, whatever. Forget what.
When Ian was talking about the Guardians video game, I almost talked about the only part of What If I really want to talk about. So I'm glad I didn't.
All right. So next week, Marvel's What If, unless something else comes up. Who knows? But probably. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Please rate and subscribe. Tell your friends about the podcast. If you want to get in touch with us and tell us how you feel about Dune. Honestly, I feel like if you're going to tell us what you feel about Dune, you have to give context about how much you knew about Dune before you watched the movie. I feel like that should be a requirement.
Right.
You can reach us at realphonies@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. At Real Phonies and on Instagram at Real_Phonies. Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. We'll see you guys later.
Later.